The 10 worst states to live in America. I haven't read this article yet. I heard this on the No Agenda podcast, which you guys should subscribe to and support financially. My favorite podcast, No Agenda podcast, by far and away. Anyway, so I guarantee these 10 worst states are going to be red states, guaranteed. So let's take a look, shall we? Even as the pandemic subsides, many companies are allowing their employees to continue work from home. States are increasingly emphasizing their quality of life as they seek to attract businesses and jobs. But not every state delivers on its promises. The pandemic and push for social justice are changing quality of life. What is this date? This is Dateline July 16th. The pandemic and push for social justice. All right, more than a year of quarantine has reminded us all of the importance of home. All right, some states are increasingly tying their quality of life and pitches to business. But the numbers are not just great places. There are some not just great places to live. The definition is changing too. We know how important public health systems and hospital capacity can be. Inclusive states value all their citizens and protect them from discrimination. And corporate America has spoken loudly, as well as quietly behind the scenes, against restrictive voting laws. CNBC study takes all this into account along with basic quality of life measures like crime and environmental quality. And based on our own methodology, the category is worth 15% of states' total points. If any of these states are your home, you may beg to differ. Basically, they're trying to stab you in the back if you're red. So they want you to give them content to yell at. Say, hey, how dare you? Indiana is number 10. It's number 48th in public health funding per capita, spending a paltry $55 per person in 2020. That has not been helpful in getting through the pandemic. While hospitals are generally adequate, what? The vaccination rates have lagged. You get it? See where we're going? Vaccination rates. Is it funny? The state's public accommodation law does not cover discrimination based on age, sexual orientation, or gender. Ooh, in April, the state amended restrictive voting law to place new limits on mail-in voting. Ooh, Louisiana, of course. Gotta show these people. Poor Cajun people. All right. Louisiana is America's least healthy state. High obesity, smoking, and premature death. The highest poverty with 19% too. One of the highest nation's crime rates and one of the lowest COVID-19 vaccinations. Weird how they're showing these people because these guys are certainly committing lots of crime. It's just these guys are, where do you think the author of this, I guarantee he lives in New York, Los Angeles, or San Francisco. All right. Health and inclusion score. They get a F. They get a grade F on health and inclusion because even though they have a Democratic governor. Man. And they're just one of a handful of states requiring an excuse to vote absentee. Weakness health, COVID vaccinations. Arkansas, again, another red state. Voting in Arkansas is already no picnic. This year, the state made it even harder with legislation that the ACLU calls the most dangerous assault on the right to vote since Jim Crow. Life, health, and inclusion score 124 out of 3, an F. Alabama as well. All right. Hold on a second. Vinny. All right. Has the nation's second highest rated, lowest COVID-19 vaccination rates after Mississippi. So, Mississippi's got to be on there. This has led concerns that the state could become a vector for the more contagious variants of the virus. More contagious than the original COVID, the novel COVID? COVID was one of the highest nation's highest rates of COVID, was one of the nation's highest rates of premature death, the second highest rate of cardiovascular, and third, doesn't make any sense, man. Beyond COVID. Okay, makes the state has serious health issues beyond COVID. Right on. Gotcha. No, I agree with that. And let's see, because these heavy people here. Why don't we talk about things you can do to actually increase your health, lose some weight? In Georgia, let us vote because they couldn't vote. My vote was, let's just put it this way. My vote in Fulton County was free and counted. You know what I'm saying? The sweeping new voter restrictions set the tone for similar legislation across the country and the business backlash that followed. The state ranks 49th in the index of voting difficulty as calculated by Northern Illinois. Let's see. But the broad crackdown on supposed election voter fraud, despite no evidence that fraud occurred. It's like a freaking political hit piece from the Democratic Party that CNBC is just pacing. Health and inclusion score, we get an F here. Weakness, COVID vaccinations. Also has no statewide protections against discrimination, voting rights, and hostile resources. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is fantastic. So where do they say COVID vaccinations? I don't think we're all that vaccinated here either. All right. What do we say? Tennessee, protect our kids. All right. Tennessee lawmakers took aim at the state's transgender population in a big way in 2021. But if you take, say, we're going against CRT, or CRT is not taking aim at white people, but everything else is taking aim. Restriction on the use of public bathrooms for transgender people. Yeah. Ban on non-gender affirming care for minors. Yeah, this whole thing is crazy. Low vaccination rates too. Yeah. All right. They get a score F. Weaknesses, inclusiveness, crime, and COVID vaccinations. Missouri, number 3, tied with Nevada. No, Nevada is the only, so far, the only blue state in here. Voting rights, crime, this Missouri, and public health funding. Also lags health and public health funding is one of the nation's highest crime rates of burglary and aggravated assault among the most prevalent and most FBI crime statistics. It does not allow universal voting. Good. Universal early voting. Good. Nevada, whatever. Voting strength, voting rights, and inclusiveness. Public health funding. They had to throw one blue, and then, of course, Texas is number 1. Stop voter suppression. For all the strengths in place to do business, Texas tries to outdo itself when it comes to laws and policies that are exclusionary. Let's see. Democrats throttled a bill that would restrict voting in a state that's already the hardest to vote in. All right. Well, we'll see. That likely saved the Lone Star from finishing at the bottom of the list, though Governor Abbott's and legislation are pushing ahead of a new special legislation. Yep. Texas lawmakers fled the state, and they get the worst. Inclusiveness, health, voting rights, public health. Oh, no. Arizona's number the worst. Oh, my goodness. Let's see. Even though there's no evidence of election fraud in Arizona, and not for lack of trying to find it, state lawmakers passed new restrictions on mail-in voting this year. How about vaccinations? Whatever. But okay, so there you go. That's all fun. So they're just trying to, let's see who this guy, clown who wrote this was. They're just trying to stick it in you. Virginia is a top state for business, according to CNBC. So who's old Scott Cohn? Some big lefty, guarantee you. Look at this guy, man. Would you ever want to invite him for Thanksgiving? No, he'd be like, let me tell you about your voting rights. Dude, I'm just trying to watch the Cowboys and eat some Thanksgiving turkey. But let's see. He created America's top states for business. All right. So he serves as a consultant in national media organizations. All right. So he's a big lib. You can see that. Let's see. CNBC Chicago. He has traveled all 50 states, reported from, and he even interviewed Bernie Madoff and Warren Buffett. He's a three-time National Emmy nominee. All right, so big lip. Shocking, huh? A native of Chicago. He holds a degree in journalism from the University of Wisconsin. All right, so those 10 states are the ones you want to live in right there. That should settle everything. All right, we'll see you.